From this tiny trashy office to a trillion-dollar behemoth, Amazon has experienced exponential growth that will undoubtedly place it in history books. If its growth continues its current trajectory, by 2030 the company is estimated to be worth well over $10 trillion, a figure that is largely incomprehensible. But as Amazon blows up, so do talks of its impending doom. A growing sentiment in America signals that the company has gotten too big. In today's video, we answer this question and look at the possibility of an Amazon antitrust case, an event that would split the company in the same way John D. Rockefeller's Standard Oil was split in the early 20th century. In 2019, a Consumer Intelligence Research Partners survey estimated that 62% of US households are Prime members. Amazon Web Services, or AWS, controls about 40% of the cloud market, running the backend for giant tech firms like Netflix, Pinterest, Slack, and dozens of other services. This on top of their private label business, their consumer electronics business, retail goods, and digital content. Amazon dominates nearly every single market it enters and has essentially left orbit in terms of business physics. This is a company that's strictly focused on growth for 20 plus years, essentially never reporting profits until recently. How can you possibly compete with a company that doesn't need to make money? This is all highlighted in one of the most famous news stories surrounding the firm. Nearly 10 years ago, Amazon began examining a possible acquisition. Diaperscom, a website that sold mostly what their name implies, diapers. The founders originally refused acquisition offers from Amazon, so Bezos sent them a message. The founders quickly noticed Amazon dropping prices up to 30% on diapers and other baby products. With its incredible war chest and essentially unlimited money, Amazon can bully nearly any company into a buyout, bleeding them out with lower prices until they succumb to the pressure. While their eventual $540 million buyout wasn't exactly unfair price-wise, the anti-competitive nature they went about it made it troubling. Amazon can swallow up competition, and that begs the question, are they too big? Is Amazon in need of a forced disintegration? Are they a monopoly? Politicians are beginning to raise this question. Here is former Democratic presidential hopeful Andrew Yang discussing the issue.
Anti-competitive behavior. It's against antitrust law. So that sort of thing has been coming out now. It's something similar with, and this was like, to me, the biggest nonsense was when Mark Zuckerberg was asked, like, hey, the founders of Instagram were worried that if they didn't sell to you, that you were going to try and put them out of business and now compete with them. Go into destroy mode, I think was the term they used, destroy mode. And then Mark was like, no, I never would have done that. And then we all know, it's like if Instagram had sold to Facebook, you know there would have been a freaking like Instagram clone out like that. Yeah. And so that this is officially, it violates antitrust law to do certain anti-competitive things like that. But the reality is, like, of course, that, if you're in that industry, like, you're going to do everything you can to try and crush anyone who could potentially end up taking your business.
We don't have a lot of cases throughout history to look at when we talk about monopolies and their destruction. The big one that every history buff knows about is Standard Oil. Back in the early 20th century, John D. Rockefeller's Standard Oil had essentially a total monopoly on the US oil market. This all came to a head in 1911 in one of the most famous court cases in history, Standard Oil Company of New Jersey versus the United States. The court's remedy to this issue was to divide Standard Oil into several geographically separate and eventually competing firms, which is exactly what they did when they split the oil giant into 34 separate companies. But looking into this case, there are actually not too many similarities between Standard Oil and Amazon. What the court concluded back then is that the government should not interfere in the free market unless there is a restraint of trade, or a contract that resulted in a monopoly or its consequences. The court explained three such consequences: higher prices, reduced output, and reduced quality. This ruling, extracted from the Sherman Act, gave modern behemoths like Amazon a lot of breathing room. For one, it's very hard to prove to a court that a monopoly is in place. Amazon, unlike Standard Oil, does not operate in just one sector. It's all over the place, like I mentioned earlier. Not only that, but many would argue that its presence has actually reduced prices, improved quality, and increased output. At least for now, bringing the firm to its knees in an antitrust case would be nearly impossible. This becomes even more apparent when you look at legal and political interests. Amazon employs over 800 top-notch lawyers in its legal team. In a modern-day case, these lawyers will be working overtime, stalling, wrestling, and manipulating case details to best serve the interests of Jeff Bezos, a man who himself is well connected to the political elite. While our current president may not be his biggest fan, Bezos is well known for being politically neutral, donating to both Democratic and Republican politicians and groups. His company's ties to the US government run deep. He even hosts the virtual environment for some intelligence services like the CIA. As of today, Amazon trades for $3,125 a share with a market cap of $1.61 trillion. His company is worth more than the GDPs of most countries. Amazon's money is described best as super money, where nothing really matters. All rules regarding business go out the window when you can acquire any company with what is relatively pennies. Thank you guys for watching. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button if you enjoyed, and leave a comment on what you think about the crazy nature of Amazon and its $1.6 trillion market cap.